The US Secretary of State Antony Blinken concluded a long-anticipated visit to China yesterday. He also met Chinese President Xi Jinping in the last leg of his visit after 2 days of talks with other senior officials. His meeting with the Chinese president was only confirmed by the US State Department shortly before it took place. The visit was an attempt to repair the worsening relationship between the two countries, which Blinken had described as one of the most consequential in the world. Antony Blinken is the first US Secretary of State to visit China since 2018, and he is also the highest-ranking US official to visit China since President Joe Biden took office. Blinken's trip had aimed to build on previous meetings between the officials of the two countries. In May, US National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan had met China's top diplomat Wang Yi in Austria. That was followed up by a visit from top Chinese commerce officials to Washington, D.C. But the progress, at best, was mixed. Earlier this month, China's defense chief Li Shangfu had rejected a meeting request from US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin because the US had sanctioned Li in 2018 for procuring Russian-made weapons for the Chinese military. Over the last few years, relations between the US and China have worsened significantly, plummeting to a historic low. The bilateral ties have been battered mainly due to what the US and its allies see as Chinese provocations in the Taiwan Strait and the South China Sea. The US and its allies also disapprove of China's support for Russia amid Vladimir Putin's ongoing invasion of Ukraine. Before this high-profile visit, American officials were hoping that Blinken's upcoming visit might pave the way for more bilateral meetings and re-establish routine exchanges on diplomatic and trade issues. But analysts had warned that these meetings would be just a beginning, as the two countries need to figure out how to compete and coexist with each other. Although both China and the US hailed progress and pledged to stabilize a spiraling relationship yesterday, both stopped short of achieving a significant breakthrough. The 35-minute meeting at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing between Blinken and Jinping capped the second and final day of a high-stakes visit by America's top diplomat aimed at easing tensions between the world's two largest economies. But nothing substantial was announced apart from the usual standard language in the press readouts. The earlier meetings held by Blinken with other top officials had also merely hinted at positivity. Both the Chinese and the US readout of those meetings used sweet and positive words. Beyond that, the discussions yielded few specific takeaways. The two sides discussed increasing passenger flights and the need for more exchanges between students and business leaders, though offered nothing concrete. But the US did not get the one thing it really wanted: restored communications between the two countries' militaries that China had severed after the then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi had visited Taiwan last August. Out of all the meetings done and the takeaways gained, the most positive outcome was the pledge to keep talking, including a plan for Chinese Foreign Minister to visit Washington in the next few months. US officials such as Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen and Climate Envoy John Kerry are also expected to travel to China soon. Although the visit did not gain anything specific and concrete as such, the only thing it perhaps seemed to do was to lay the groundwork for a possible Biden-Xi Jinping meet at the G20 summit in India in September. This visit also seemed to smoothen the way for Xi Jinping to visit USA for the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum later in November this year. But will these two leaders actually meet then? Only the time will tell, and even a small, unpleasant development might sabotage the whole plan.
Subscribe to Oneindia channel and never miss an update.